Hello Counter-Strike nerds, it's your boy Hawker, and I'm back with a brand new video taking a look at Brollan's CT-sided aggression on Train. I've been taking a look through some of the CT-sided opening kill stats for specific maps, and on Train, Brollan is up there with the most aggressive players on the CT side of this map. You've got Boomich and Bubsky here who try the opening fight a lot on the CT side and win it about half the time, which is pretty good. Then obviously, whenever you're talking about aggression, you're going to talk about Art. He tries the entry most often on CT Train and wins it 55% of the time, and Tesses is doing pretty well also. But out of all these players who try the entry the most on Train, none of them win it as much as Brollan, who wins the opening fight over 70% of the time, despite being one of the few players who attempt it this frequently. And by the way, for these stats, I only counted against top 20 teams, so you know he's doing it against good opposition. But let's jump in to take a look at what Brollan is doing so successfully on the CT side of Train. Starting with this game versus Astralis from a few months ago where they had Bubsky in the lineup. And Brollan plays on the A site on this CT side, but switches up his spots fairly often and also goes for this pop dog push fairly frequently where he's definitely got the aim to win these sorts of fights. In this early rounds though, even though he got that first kill, Astralis actually do a good job at putting this smoke into pop dog which distracts him and they end up getting this kill, so Brollan actually gets outplayed in this one. Skipping ahead a couple of rounds to round 20, Fnatic start this round by mollying main and Brollan makes sure no one can push out to begin with. But after Fnatic don't spot any early A main aggression, Brollan goes ahead and double stacks Pop Dog with Crims who has the MP9, and I love this play. The SMG rattles off some early shots, and so Astralis assume they're fairly safe to drop down Pop, thinking that there'll only be an MP9 here, but Brollan has this second man stacked into Pop Dog, lines up a couple of very easy kills, and can stay alive in this position. The important part of this double pop play though is that it leaves the A site very vulnerable, so you need to strike that balance of helping the site itself while not dying in pop, and Brollan strikes that balance beautifully in this round. He puts down this smoke, and even though he whiffs this first fight, there are other smokes waiting in Pop Dog, so he goes ahead, goes back and picks up another one. That means he has another smoke for the post plant, which can help him isolate some of these fights. And Astralis want to be playing this post plant from A main, this far back position. But because of Brollan's positioning, he's able to isolate both of these duels, win the round for Fnatic, and this is just masterfully played all round from Brollan. Except for the whiff, which we won't talk about. Obviously, when you play aggressive, you are going to get caught sometimes. That just comes with the territory. And there were plenty of rounds like this where Bubsky just lands a banging shot. Although at the end of the round, even he admitted he probably got a bit lucky here. I think he might have been in mid-air even when he got this kill. In general, throughout this game, Astralis put a lot of emphasis on this Pop Dog position. And there were some rounds where they just made a great play and Brollan got beaten by it, as you would expect. Like in this round, where once this smoke goes down, Astralis time this nade to blow up to cause distraction to obscure the vision of Brollan, while Bubsky drops down the ladder to sit in this smoke. This is just Astralis being brilliant. I don't really think Brollan can ever expect this. I don't think he can ever assume, oh yeah, there's a guy sitting in the smoke while that nade went off. So obviously Brollan loses this fight as well. Heading into round 24, Astralis decide to run a faster A play, and because Brollan delays this incendiary into A main, he's able to focus on Pop Dog. This open angle would normally be vulnerable from the A main push, but instead he can take this tight fight over to Pop Dog, get the first kill, and do damage to the second man. And considering Brollan was up against a fast play and he got blinded instantly here, this is a pretty solid job. He slowed them down quite a bit and ended up getting a kill and even did damage to that second man. I talked earlier how I thought Astralis were very focused on Pop Dog throughout this entire game, and this is a round where Brollan finally realizes that and starts to adapt. Instead of fighting for Pop Dog or playing E-Box, Brollan switches things up by pushing towards A main, where Astralis in their defaults oftentimes don't put that many players. And that rings true in this very round, where he can find a 1v1 fight against Dupree. That's a fight you'll happily take all day, every day, because now Brollan can just wait for his teammates to molly Pop Dog, push into team main, and take a really good position for his team, and one that Astralis will have to deal with later in the round. Brolan even ends up pushing all the way deep into T main, and this is something Astralis just aren't ready for. And whenever you catch Astralis off guard like this, you've probably done something right. Brolan lines up this lovely little double kill, and it's another round where Brolan's had a massive impact for his team. One of the potential drawbacks of always playing this aggressively though is when your opponents don't have that much money, if you play pretty far forwards, you run the risk of giving them your rifle. In this one, Fnatic might not be 100% sure of Astralis' money since they've scraped together a force buy, but Brollan still decides to play up close. And this play definitely isn't a terrible one. The flash into Popdog nearly works, he does get a kill, but as has been the case so often, Astralis have 2 players stacked in Popdog already, so one man can just play anti-flash, turn around for this kill, and the players who had pistols have now just upgraded themselves to an AK. Brollan more than makes up for that round a few rounds later though, where we're in crunch time and Fnatic decide to stack 2 nades on A main to begin with, which is always a decent idea. After a more passive start to the rounds though, Astralis think they're safe. They think they've got the early map control in Popdog and they think they're safe in T main, but once this smoke comes down, deployed by Fnatic towards Pop, it's placed in a position where Brollan can go ahead and sit in this smoke inside of Popdog, wait for it to fade, and whenever you're sitting in smokes like this, you're normally going to get the advantage in the fight. And Brollan is so quick on both of these kills, he instantly turns around for the second man, and then realizes he just needs to sit in Popdog at this point. Astralis is screwed if they try and push the site here, because they've got both of these angles to deal with. And Brollan even waits for a flash to come up in front of him to peek at the end and completely counters Astralis' A take in this round. This is just such a well-timed push to deny the A execute. Here's a nice round heading into overtime where Brollan shows his composure against a fast A rush from Astralis. Despite being bombarded by flashes on the bomb site, Brollan still keeps his composure to throw this molly, I think while blind, over towards Popdog, and this makes a massive difference in stopping the Astralis players from being able to push out. He gets an assist with this molly and stops Astralis in their tracks, or train tracks you could say. And then this reposition at the end is so cheeky from Brollan. Astralis get the kill onto Crims, who was playing in Heaven, and Brollan thinks to himself, if I go to Heaven here, there's no way in hell Astralis are going to expect 2 players to be in Heaven, because you would never actually sit with 2 players in that position. So he repositions, instantly gets up on this elevated angle, gets a kill as a reward for his heads up play, and helps Fnatic get the first round of OT. In the very next round, I personally think it's fair to assume that Astralis are quite likely to go back to a default now after their fast A play didn't work. And what did we say was Astralis' potential weak point in their default earlier? That's right, T main, where only Dupree was playing last time Brollan made this push, so he goes for it again with the exact same pathing, and this time the fight is nowhere near as clean, but it's another good read on the situation that he can probably isolate a 1v1 fight into A main, and for the rest of the round, Brollan isn't needed. He gets his team the man advantage, and they close it out. All those rounds I just showed came from one game against Astralis, where I think Brollan had a brilliant performance. But let's go ahead and switch it up and show this game against MOUZ Sports now. And in the words of Richard Lewis, I don't give a yikes often, but peeking before this smoke frozen, that's gonna get a yikes from me. You can't be doing that. Brollan ends up getting one through the smoke as well, and that just goes to show you some of the issues that MOUZ were having in this game. Alright, I feel a bit bad after that one, so if I'm going to show MOUZ Sports at their worst, I better show them at their best. This was a really well played round where they hard countered Brollan. They decide to spam into Popdog to mask the sound of the flashbang, and because of that, Brollan doesn't turn around because he doesn't hear the pin of the flashbang being pulled out. This was well executed, drop down, easy kill on the blind player, and definitely some big brain stuff. We also get to see plenty of the same plays run by Brollan in this game, but sometimes with different outcomes because he's playing against a different team. In this round, Brollan attempts to go for that same A main push we saw a couple of times previously, but he gets spotted and tagged before he can get to his proper spot. Again though, I'm really impressed by how quick-witted Brollan is and how fast he is to react. He underhands his own smoke to give him that bit of cover he needs to get to this position, and then just decides to walk on top of the blue train to get a different angle. And I think he's a bit unlucky only to get one kill here. MOUZ actually react really well to trade him out, because I think he could have easily got 2 kills or maybe 1 and backed away, but credit to MOUZ for reacting well. We also get to see some of the similar aggression into A main, but we also get to see another reason why Brolan makes sure he's close to A main in some of these spots. If Fnatic or Brollan ever feel like Ivy might be vulnerable in one of these rounds, it's important to be in a position where you can be safe, and being close to A main makes it much easier for him to be able to stay alive, not have to focus on the site itself, and then as this Ivy push comes in, he can just reposition into one of these really difficult angles to deal with around the trains, and it ends up being as difficult to deal with as I anticipated. He gets 2 kills and gets the job done for his team. We also get to see what it looks like when teams play a bit more passive in A main to begin with. Remember how Brollan got away with these T main pushes against Astralis because Dupree was normally there alone? Well, MOUZ decide to put BMAS here, but he holds further back, making sure that once Brollan pushes all the way through A main, it's a really hard fight for him to win. Especially on a left eye peek, you're not going to win this one too often. Final round I'm going to showcase shows a similar story, where MOUZ are again much more focused on team main than Astralis were, and Brollan tries to push this position. We get the early exchange of nades between the two teams, and once this smoke goes down, Brollan decides he's happy to sit up close and wait for the fights once this smoke fades. And even though I think Brollan was wanting a smoke for the right side from Crim sooner, he still does a really solid job at winning this first fight, setting up a trade from his teammate Crims who was close by, and winning these A main fights. So even when there are more players stacked in A main, there are still answers from Brollan, it's just more reliant on making sure he has his teammates helping him. So I hope you guys enjoyed me taking a look at Brollan's CT rifling on train. I think he did a really good job in all these rounds. I love how poised Brollan looks, how confident and ready he looks. He always looks like he's one step ahead. He always looks like he has a plan for everything in these rounds, which is so important when you play aggressively like he does. As always, thanks for all the love on the channel recently. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.